Welcome to Beyond Your Job, the podcast where we talk about work, life, balance, and everything in between. I'm your host, Iris Clapper, a former attorney and writer with a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. I'm also a certified professional coach and consultant. So while that's a mouthful, the takeaway is that I'm fascinated by the psychology of work and its impact on how we live. This podcast was born from something I kept seeing in my clients, in my friends, and definitely in myself. You can be thriving in your career, but if you're burning out, it doesn't just stay at work. It permeates home life, marriage, relationships, and of course your emotional and physical well-being. During each episode, I sit down with professionals from diverse industries to gain insight, inspiration, and a few laughs while having honest, thoughtful conversations where everything is fair game as long as they're up for it. With me today is Shelly Breen. She's an entrepreneur, a master certified coach, nationally recognized speaker and facilitator, and lifelong advocate for girls and women in sports. Her careers span all ages of teaching and athletics coaching, sales leadership roles in the WNBA and higher education, as well as creating programs and literature that changes the lives of youth. Shelly leads transformative workshops, facilitates StrengthsFinder programs, and holds space and compassionate guidance for her coaching clients. In her coaching practice, Shelly specializes in guiding women through major life transitions, from coaching pivots to relationship shifts and caregiving shaped by dementia, something very personal to Shelly. A children's book author and mindfulness practitioner, Shelly is passionate about helping people navigate change with courage and heart. And I'll add that if you haven't already, please listen to Shelly's incredible TEDx talk. Just Google accidental children's book author Shelly Breen and it'll come right up. I guarantee you an inspirational 15 minutes. Shelly, welcome. I am so excited to have you here with me today. We've been talking about this for such a long time.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was really beautiful. I love the
Well,
ad.
you're beautiful. And
Thank you.
the words don't even begin to describe you. So I can't wait to have this conversation and have all of our listeners get to know you a little bit.
So glad to be here.
You've had so many careers in your life and you're still so young. What's the common theme?
Oh my God, what am I going to be when I grow up? The common theme, yeah, you list all the things that I've done, and it's not even everything.
No?
Um, the common theme is really about being of service to other people while being in integrity with my values. And so, as I'm a teacher and working with students, as a coach, working with athletes, sales training in multiple organizations. And each time I was in one of those situations, I felt, okay, I think I've reached the point where I'm energized. And now I want to find another place to grow and use my talents and other people. And so it's always been about putting good things out in the world. Some of that is based originally in my beautiful codependency. And now as a recovering codependent, it's much less about being prescriptive and telling people how to live their lives or do things and instructing them, and so much greater listening and seeing what comes up
And you
to
and I have
guide.
talked about this a lot, just about holding space and listening and the power that
It's
lies in.
everything. It's everything. Not only the holding space and the listening, but doing it with a curiosity. We can listen and just go, okay, great. For me, my active listening is, oh, I wonder why. Tell me more about that. I want to go deeper, third, fourth, fifth tier questions, because when somebody is sharing something, there's always multiple layers underneath. I
And
love
I'll
that.
add to that listening in an empathetic way because You can be curious in a prying way, but when you're curious with empathy, it holds a whole different space. And I know that that's the space you hold.
You can be curious also with preparation for how does this fit the next thing I want to say.
Right? That's true.
You
That's
know, and that's only helpful to one person. And I even will challenge myself, is that even helpful at all for anyone?
and you and I met way back in our maybe I think our second coaching certification, and we talked about that a lot about we're not supposed to give advice. That is not what coaches do. I'm going to turn this over to you for a second just to give a summary of what coaches do.
Overarching, the goal or the job of a coach is to help people uncover what they need and want, and uncover for themselves the steps to get there and the steps that are in the way. So
Yes.
our job is to have curiosity and help them have curiosity for themselves. But in the end, we mostly all know our answers, but there's a disconnect to our internal compass that needs recalibrating. And as a coach, we help shepherd that process.
I love that. And, I second that wholeheartedly. And I often marvel at how my clients know the answer. They just need the space and comfort to have that conversation with themselves. And it really is an honor and a privilege to sit in that space with someone because that self discovery is just that. We're facilitators, accountability partners. We're not here to give advice. And for me, as a former lawyer, that was a different space, a different purpose, I should say.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, especially when we know what we want to pull from them, or we
Yes.
think we know, and it is not our job to direct that. It needs to come from them authentically. And that is a practice for me all the time within
It's a
my
practice
practice.
all the time as well. I just in the last 2 weeks had a client say to me, well, what do you think? Should I do that? And I knew that she should, but it took everything out of me to just keep exploring and let her come to her own conclusion and allow her the confidence to know that the answer lies inside of her. And you and I both know that that's when change also sticks, not when somebody else tells you to do something, but when you've internalized what you know you should do, because I think we all have that intuition.
I had a client recently ask me, Shelly, can you just, I know this is a coaching session, but can you just tell me what you think I should do next? And I said, what do you think I would say?
That's a good one.
And she said, I would think you would say, what do you think I would say? So we ended up in this humorous banter back and forth, which kind of broke the tension of, I need to know the answer. Tell me the answer of my life. And it's never that simple. And so just even the banter back and forth of, what do you think I would say, helped them settle into their body a little bit more and think, I probably know what I need to do next. I just don't want to. And then we can get into all of those things.
Well, we don't want to do any of the hard things, but at the end of the day, I find that those are the most productive things. And also the time we spend saying, I don't want to do that and having anxiety about the thing, if we can just do the thing, the anxiety takes a lot more energy than
She
just
spends
doing what we
way more time
way more time.
worrying about things, planning them for a 10-minute conversation. The minutes and moments and years and hours that we take off our own lives in preparation for that 10-minute conversation is my goal for myself personally is to constantly reduce that amount of time
Yes,
and
that's
just
a good,
go to the conversation.
yes. Because at the end of the day, once you're past the planning stage of knowing what you want to say or what you need to do, which is probably, I don't know, a minute, the rest of the day, days, week, month are spent in anticipation, which is just futile. It doesn't actually inform, unless you've made a hasty decision, it doesn't actually inform the
Mm,
conversation or the
mm,
outcome you're going to
right,
have.
right.
So I'm curious, who has been the most influential person in your life?
I am so grateful and indebted emotionally to a therapist who helped me see myself and get in touch with my reality and my gifts and helped me heal and cleanse, clear the path so that I could have a greater life picture, deepen relationship with myself, deepen relationship with others. And I didn't meet her until I was 42 years old. I still hear her. It felt like I was getting punched in the gut every week. And we laughed about that because 7.5 years later in our relationship, she said, when I was your therapist 7.5 years ago, I was punching you in the gut because I thought I knew you. I thought I needed to teach you who you were. And she said, and I did you a disservice. So she taught me about coaching in our sessions by showing me ways that she could have done better and how she was practicing doing better and personal growth as a therapist. I'm just so grateful for her wisdom and guidance and compassion through some amazingly incredible, difficult times in my life.
And she also sounds like she was vulnerable, and in that vulnerability was so much wisdom and compassion. I
First
think that
time I experienced true repair was with her, where she screwed up. She made a mistake and she like pressed pause and said, we're going to practice something right now I don't think you've ever experienced. And that is, we're going to have repair. And you're going to see and feel what it's like to experience repair with me in a safe environment. And then we could mark different times along the way. This is also another moment of repair. Oh, I can do repair with you when I'm not honest or when I'm cutting, or and I can practice that. I don't die. I don't fall apart out of humility. And now I can practice this more and more. Oh, what a gift. What a gift.
does that inform the way you coach? I mean, I know she's a therapist and you're a coach, and we know the differences, but does that guide you?
No doubt. I have no interest in being put on a pedestal by my clients like I did with her initially.
Hmm.
And instead, if somebody is feeling like they are in a hole and they are holding on to both sides of the wall of this hole with their feet and their hands, what she and I talked about is she wasn't pulling me out of the ground, and I'm not going to pull my clients out of the ground. What we're going to do is help them build the ground up under their feet so that we can see each other in a light where we are on the same level. We're both standing on the same ground.
I love that. And I know you've done so many different types of coaching. I mean, you've probably been a coach for most of your adult life. How is athletic coaching different than life coaching?
It is and it super isn't.
Okay.
So, with athletic coaching, if I think about my years as a basketball coach, it was all about what is happening in the present moment, what's happening in the game, what's happening in practice, what's happening in the planning, and then how do we want to move forward in strategizing? Who are the players? Who's on the bench? Who's injured? and needs to heal. What's the assistant coach's or support
Yeah.
systems job and responsibility? How do we utilize the physical therapist and the trainer? And it's all about team. And as a coach, a life coach, what's happening for you in your present moment? What do you want things to look like moving forward? And how do you strategize, build a team of support, work on healing any injuries? That's what you do with your therapist. And I'll help you. And then now you've got a game plan. Ultimately, then it's the process of letting go because you got to play the game. And so, in terms of athletics coaching, the strategy and the concept is exactly the same. And I was actually not a, I'm a great relationship coach with my players, and I still have strong relationships with these gals who are high school students of mine, and they're adults and their kids are graduating high school now. I wasn't a great X's and O's person because I really wanted to be more focused on what's happening for each one of them individually.
Mhm.
And then I found the times where I was not successful was when I wanted it more for them than they wanted it for themselves. And that translates to my life coaching now. I find that in a good failure situation, when I check myself, I am much more invested emotionally in this person's success than they are ready to be vulnerable with.
And it's highly emotional work than we do. And it's hard to not internalize some of it. I things back to back because I also need a moment to regroup, to journal. I take notes, I store my notes because it's highly emotional work and we need to be invested and separate all at the same time. If you care about people, you're going to be invested. I mean, we do this work because we care. We want to help people. So I can't say that I completely separate myself.
That's not how I want to coach. And I understand that there are schools of thought on what we are supposed to do. And I believe that a lot of that is just to uphold accreditation. And because it is about safety and the client's safety and our own safety. And I am not a robot. And I have no interest in living my life detached. And so I'm going to bring in my experiences and my emotions and my compassion. I care about my clients. And that serves them better, I believe, because I am invested. And that's where some folks are, I'm not a great fit. I don't want to do executive coaching. Some people
Leave that
love
to me.
that. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I can do that. We can do professional career building
Sure.
things, but I like being on a more personal level of how do you want to be living your best life?
Yes. And I can tell you that even in executive coaching, I had an experience last year where a client who was talking to me about work goals and work related issues d- decided that they need to share something difficult, and it was there and it sat between us, and I had an idea of what might be coming, and I suggested that they turn around or take themselves off camera just to give them my voice without having to look at me because it just felt like that's what was necessary in the moment. And they welcomed that and they shared some very, very difficult things. And I was grateful that the camera was off because tears were streaming down my face. Some of those situations are inevitable. And even with executive coaching, things come up and we're human and I really do care. And of course I composed myself and we moved through it, but I care. It's part of what I do. It's hard to separate sometimes.
That's right. I have cried tears of joy and pride. Just express, oh my God, I am so proud of you. Like you
Yes.
took these steps. And can you imagine 3 months ago thinking that you might be taking these steps? No, look what you did. Like, I love celebrating that. And I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So sometimes I'm like in the back of my mind thinking baseball. I try and think of one of the most boring things in the world to like detach from my emotions. It's not even 3 years ago that I buried my dad after a 7.5 year journey with Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And I am working with families who are caregiving for a loved one with dementia, variety of types of dementia. And sometimes we have crisis calls where it's an unplanned session and we sit down and they just need to cry.
Yeah.
And they're so sad because their loved one didn't recognize them that day and was so angry with them. And I understand, and I see them emoting and I'm holding space for them. And I'm also remembering the first time my dad was angry with me. He thought I was a stranger. And I'm appreciating how, having had that experience, I can understand. I have compassion. They're not the same experience, but I can
Yeah.
draw on that and be with them and say, it's so hard. It's so hard right now. What would be helpful for you?
Which is such a powerful question because so many people feel the need to say, "Oh, I know exactly how you feel." You don't need to know how I feel at all. You just need to have empathy for my situation and hold
I
space.
actually can't. I can't know how you feel
You can't.
because I am not you. I have not lived your life. This is not my relationship. We don't have the same cells. And I have a mother daughter client caring for husband, dad. And I talk with them about you are not having the same experience. One of you shares DNA with the other, with a loved one. And the other one has a romantic love. And
Yeah.
you're having different experiences. We can't know, but we can have empathy and compassion and help us get to a place of understanding as much as
Yes,
possible.
for sure. How do you find balance? I know you've navigated so many of your own transitions, PTSD, healing, divorce, grieving your dad, career shifts, and doing this work that you do. How do you find the balance?
It's integration. So I don't put on my coach hat and then turn off my coach hat. I'm integrating my life experiences always. And that means reflection when I'm in nature and making sure that I'm in nature as much as possible every day, somehow. Meditation,
A huge fan
so much.
of.
From 2 minute meditations, which that's all it takes, to doing ancestral healing work with my lineage
Mm-hmm.
through meditation, journaling. I have an adult nephew that we meet every week. He's 26 years old. We meet every week and we do 5 to 10 minute journal prompts together.
I
I
love
mean,
that.
just taking that time and space. But years ago, instead of having a New Year's resolution, because I never lived up to them and they were always about stopping something or starting something,
Yes.
I decided that I wanted to look at how I wanted to be and what were like my foundational principles of being every day. And if I could call on these principles, if I felt out of alignment, it would get me back. And that is courage. Do I have the courage to do hard things? And do I have the courage to experience great joy? And if not, where do I need clarity? Asking questions, getting more data, more checking my internal compass, my gut instincts when I ask myself, and I know when I don't know, I need more clarity. I got to ask more questions. And then finally, but actually first, is having compassion for myself first, then others. I
Oxygen
need
mask.
to be I need to be giving from my overflow, not from my reserves. So if my tank is getting low, I am the only one who is responsible for filling it. And so if I am, and we talked a little bit offline about self criticism.
Yes.
The worst things we will ever hear, we've probably said to ourselves. And so when I am starting to do that, I know that my self compassion is out of balance, which means I need to check my instincts and I need to get more information and then have the courage to take the steps that I need to fill up my cup. So I have complex PTSD. I get triggered at least once a week out of the blue, and it rocks me. It could be a phrase my partner says, or a
Mhm.
tone, or a look, and my body gets hijacked. And that hijack takes less time out of my life than it used to. I won't ever get rid of it completely, but now I'm able to get on board as an observer and say, oh, I'm triggered right now. So I need to go into nature, need to do some breathing, need to meditate. I need to remind myself what year it is. How old am I? Where do I live? I'm safe. Look for signs of safety. I went through a really difficult divorce. Not many of them are easy. What I didn't anticipate was being estranged from the four children I helped raise. But I know that I am responsible for the consequences of my decisions, and leaving an unhealthy, unfulfilling relationship was how I could move forward in living my best life. And I believe it was better for everyone. And I believe that the door remains open to those
Believe.
children.
Yes.
And I am open and ready when they are to re-engage and repair where needed. Yeah, and the death of my dad was such a gift. I did a facilitated retreat over the weekend on letting go. And the power of letting go of the stories we've told ourselves or been told, they served a purpose at some point in time for us, but they're not meant forever. Letting go of unhealthy relationships, letting go of ways of being that no longer serve us creates spaciousness. And we can just live in that spaciousness in the present, or we can fill it with goodness. But my dad's Alzheimer's and the journey of caring for him became the greatest gift he could have given our family. It brought my mom and my four brothers and I together, unified around dignity and compassionate caregiving. None of us are alike. And we've found ways through his leadership and through my mom's leadership and each of us stepping into ourselves to be caregivers. It was such a gift. And those bonds will never be undone.
I think one of the things that really struck me as you were speaking is this theme of moderation and acceptance and good enough, which is hard for me. I want to say that I'm a recovering perfectionist, but everybody who knows me knows that my recovery has been really difficult.
You're not a recovered perfectionist, you're recovering. It's
Right?
active. Yes.
It's true. And you talked about knowing that you're going to live with certain triggers for the rest of your life, but that the space between the trigger and exhalation is shorter. And so I also talk to my clients a lot about mitigation. I don't really think full recovery in the space that I work in is a goal, unless that's somebody's goal, and then I honor that. But even for me, mitigation, we're all a work in progress. We have tools. We can open up that toolbox. We can take what we need and we can make decisions. And I think that giving us that permission to say, this might never be exactly how I want it, and that's good enough. For me,
Mm.
that has been such a revelation because
Mm.
I was never able to accept that in the past. And I thought that good enough meant mediocrity in your relationships, in your life, in the way you work, the way you set a table, whatever it is for you. And that's not at all what it is. And there's so much power in that. So it's so good to hear you say that too, that it's not just a work in progress, which is a phrase that we all use all day long, but it's really a mitigation strategy and an acceptance. And in that acceptance, there's so much self compassion.
Can't know if I'm in alignment with my values if I haven't done the work to understand what are my values. I can't know if I'm living my best life, most authentic life, if I haven't done the work to explore what are my criteria? What are the criteria, my must haves in relationship with myself? What are my criteria, my must haves for a relationship with a significant other? What do I value and what are my criteria for a business partner? I am stunned. I don't know why I'm stunned. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be stunned, but I'm stunned by the volume of people that I have met in my life, including myself, who have never considered what their criteria are and what their values are. Because as soon as we do that, we go, oh, if that's true, if that's my values and my criteria, this relationship, this business relationship does not meet that. No wonder I'm drained.
Yeah.
I'm operating outside of my values. This is draining my battery every day versus charging it or just maintaining steady.
It's okay for those values to change. It's,
Yes.
I mean, more than okay. I think it's expected.
Mm.
We're not 5 years old. We're not 20 years old.
Yeah.
Things change. I think
Yeah.
the basic core values have remained the same, but there are other things that I've added in nuances that make a huge difference to me today.
Yeah. As I've grown myself up and I'm operating from an almost 52-year-old person as opposed to operating from my 17-year-old self or my 35-year-old self, I have less spoons to give out. I don't bend over backwards to please others because I now know that is out of integrity with my values. Previously, I hadn't assigned that as a value for myself. And so I did those things, and it did not serve me well. It's what I ask of my clients to do this inventory for themselves and reflect on it, and then practice articulating it for me. It's a practice for them, but we're in a safe environment that they can do that. And that's when it really seeps deeper into their pores and their nervous system. Try it on, check your gut. How does it feel when you say that? Feels good. How do you know? Where do you notice it in your body? And how can you continue to increase that feeling in your body? What can you lean back on and call forward?
People listening, if they're wondering, should they call a coach? and what they could get out of it as opposed to a therapist, how would you guide them? What's the
Mm,
decision?
mm. If a person is feeling like they might be ready to make some shifts in their life, it's the right time to call a coach. If they are curious about whether they have some clutter in their
Mhm.
life that needs to be worked through first, thought clutter from past experiences, emotional clutter from relationship past, whether that's childhood or beyond, um, actual physical clutter, if they are hoarding, those sorts of things, that is where they're going to do the work with the therapist. I almost all of my clients are also working with a therapist.
Mhm.
So they got to be ready to try some things, ready to be curious about themselves. And if there are some really big voices, things that are holding them back, that's where I would lean. And I'm curious to hear what you have to say. That's where I would lean to say, you might want to consider seeking out a strong therapist for yourself first and get that healing work going before we can start looking at your forward. Because you and I, we work with people in their present and moving forward.
Yes.
And therapists draw on and help heal the past so that they can also move forward.
I- And that makes perfect sense. I think it's a little bit different for me because I'm an executive coach and you're a life coach.
Mm,
So I just had this experience very recently, in fact, where I set the boundaries for my client and reset the boundaries in the first few sessions because people think that because I have a master's in psychology, I can be a therapist, and I am not a licensed therapist, and it is not the work that I choose to do. So I may understand, and it might inform my thinking, but it won't change the fact that I'm an executive coach. So it doesn't normally enter my space quite as often as it would enter yours,
mm,
but I do have to draw those boundaries. And I think that those things can exist at the same time, where you're working on mental health issues with a therapist and you're working on your life and career goals with me. So I think it might be easier in my space to
It makes sense.
decide at the start.
However, it is so common in a session that the client might take it down a path, and I will say, I want you to finish your thought and maybe even write it down. And we'll just pause. I'll say, and consider adding that to your agenda with your therapist.
Correct.
Let's
Exactly.
talk about how
Yeah.
this looks impacts your future
Yes.
or where things are at today.
And how it
And
impacts the goal that you've set for us to work on together.
that's
So
right.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Do you think that everyone is coachable? It's a loaded
Oh,
question, I realize.
nope, I don't. It's everybody has the opportunity to be coachable, but they need to have interest and curiosity to grow. And some people, their light is out. They are stuck. They can't see that yet. But there are steps they can take to work towards that. But no, I don't think everybody in the present moment is coachable. And I have found that they thought they were coachable, but they weren't ready to let go of control of the narrative. They weren't ready to let go of different things in their life to do that growth.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Because if there's going to be change, it's not going to be easy. I'm kind of a taskmaster, and I'm here to facilitate, and I'm here to help hold the coachee accountable to what they tell me that they want, and to sort of sit by their self-exploration process and hold their hand through it, meet them where they're at, and hold their hand through it. But at the end of the day, it's not my journey. So I have to be okay with the outcome, with successes, with failures, with everything in between, because everything ends up being part of that person's process.
Mm.
And it may not click today, it may click in the future, and that's okay too.
That's right. As long as I am, or the client is thinking that there is an end, like an ultimate goal, I'm not able to do my best work or be present because I believe that life is full of our ups and downs forever
Mhm.
and lots of downs. And so, how do we build tools in the tool belt and recalibrate the compass so that they can manage through those situations better? Now, somebody might come and say, I'm looking for a new career. I want a new career. But we got to dig into why and what does that look like and how does that align with their values? And then what? There's not just they might get a new career, but now let's process, how is it going? How do you know? What's feeling good? What would you change? Because we're not linear. Life is not linear.
No, it is not. And there are a lot of ups and downs. And when my daughter was little, she asked me why bad things happen. And I think that that's a multifaceted question and answer. And there are many answers. But the first thing I told her, and it was a series of discussions, but the first thing I said was because we wouldn't know how to recognize and appreciate the good things that happen if we didn't have the bad things along with the good. And our job is to recognize the good things. And, at times in my life, I have felt like a hypocrite for saying that because even though I believe it, when things are bad, they're bad. And I think that focusing on gratitude as a value, first of all, it's science based, changes our brain. We know that.
That's
So
right.
either do it for the sake of doing it or do it because I promise you that if you look it up, it's science based, it changes your brain and it's good for you. And I know that it's hard to just always stay in that space. I know that I fall out.
When we are able to feel, like deeply feel pain and anger, it expands our realm of feelings so we can feel greater joy. We're not living in a short spectrum. So with greater joy and optimism and excitement, and that lends itself to also feeling greater pain. I'm going to paraphrase this. I'm not going to get it right. At some point in time, could I be more vague? I was taught like a story about how when our heart gets broken, metaphorically and literally, our heart gets broken, it in that break there becomes scar tissue. And scar tissue is actually expanding the skin. So when we get a cut, scar tissue, it's greater. So the more heartbreak we experience, the more scars, which means our heart is getting bigger, is literally expanding with that scar tissue. So more pain, more gain. I don't know. That's not the
Beautiful
connection I meant to
visual,
make.
though. It is. It makes sense. I like evidence, so that resonates with me.
I truly believe that my heart is so big. I got a big heart. I know it. And it is so big because one of the key reasons is because I have experienced and felt so much pain. I don't think it's a requirement for people to have a large heart, but I know that metaphor fits me.
And I know that you have a huge heart, and I know that people out there are wondering how they can connect with you. So, can you tell us if there's somebody out there who needs an incredible coach? Shelly is the best life coach. How can they find you?
ShellyBreen.com, ShellyBreen. And if they're curious also about learning anything about the children's book series, Shelly Being the Sports Queen, they can look that up as well. But I welcome 45-minute consultation, and we can understand in that amount of time who each other is and whether this is the right fit or not. And if not, I've got all kinds of recommendations. Um, I really take so much pride and I'm so honored to be of support and hold the container for folks who need that in any transition of life. Thank you.
I know that anybody would be lucky to work with you. But before I let you go,
Likewise.
thank you. Are you up for a
Yes.
quick lightning round?
I'm super curious about what you have. Let's
Okay.
go. Let's go.
Don't have to think too much. I'm
Okay.
just going to throw these at you. Number one, introvert or extrovert?
Oh, I'm an introvert. I do public things all the time, but my battery is charged by being alone.
Same, same.
Yes.
Early bird or night owl?
Definitely early bird. I like to be up before the sun comes up, and I'm definitely in bed early.
Me too. What do you do for fun?
I love to be in nature, play with the pup, sports, 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 and then maybe a side of sports.
What's the last show you binge watched, or is that sports?
Currently watching Loot.
Oh,
Maya Rudolph. Oh my gosh, what a great humor, but also an interesting narrative on billionaires and what they could be doing with their money.
I will check that out. I just wrote it down. What is a song that instantly puts you in a good mood?
Oh, what's her name? Unwritten? Natasha Bedingfield.
Oh,
Unwritten.
yeah.
And it's all about possibility. The rest of our story is unwritten. We got to go out and live it for it to be written.
I love that.
Yeah.
What secret power would you choose if you could?
I'm actually, oh my God, I'm going to say this on a podcast. I'm trying to lean into listening to what the universe is giving me. And I think I would love to be a medium.
I would love for you to be a medium, Shelly. Please keep working on that.
I don't know if I want that. It feels like a lot of responsibility.
It is.
But as I listen I'm listening a lot to
I think that
messages and
everyone will
it's,
hear it. It's
yeah.
you.
Mm,
Oh, I'm looking forward to
mm,
that.
thank you, friend.
Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Are there butch actors out there that people know about? It's funny because my one of my brothers has been working on a movie script and he's writing a character based on me, and we
This is
racked our brain. We
perfect.
talked about, yeah.
I didn't even know that when I asked you that question.
No, who would play it? I don't know.
Okay, so it remains to be seen. Okay.
I think so. Why not
What's
me? I'll just play it.
oh
Let's go. All
if he's listening, let's do it.
right,
That's
Bill.
absolutely perfect. Do you prefer a short text or a long conversation?
Short text. You mean on the phone? I don't like talking on the phone very much. FaceTime, I'm good, but just a phone call, I'd prefer a quick text.
Yeah, for me, it just depends. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Unnecessary apologies,
Oh, that's a good one.
especially as women. Boy, we apologize for existing. We apologize for saying something. We start sentences with "I'm sorry." Yep.
I need to sit with that for a second. It's so true. But to end on a happy note, what's the number one thing on your bucket list right now?
On May 10th, 2026, it is now confirmed as of this morning that the WNBA season will be opening. And it is Sunday. It is Mother's Day. It is my mom's 85th birthday, and she and I will be sitting in my courtside seats for the Minnesota Lynx home opener together.
Oh, I am
I am
so
I
happy
am
for
so pumped. We are going to have such a great time, and what a gift for both of us.
what a gift. I'll tell you what else is a gift. Having you here with me today. I just adore you. I could never get enough of our conversations, and you've been a gift to me. I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Thank you for putting you and this out into the world. You matter. What you're doing matters. How you make people feel, including me. We had an instant connection,
Instant.
and that is forever. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shelly. And that's a wrap. If you like this episode, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and share the love. You can always reach out to me through my website, ariseclappercoachingandconsulting.com.